For the entire month of July, I read nothing but books and watched movies about vampires or werewolves, or if I was really lucky, about both. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing what I watched and read throughout the month with my reviews, as well as some updates on what's to come for Spook Worm Club. Hey Ghosters! Welcome back to our Spooky Oasis. If you're new here, my name is Mandy Spooks, and this is our Spooky Oasis where we celebrate the magic of Halloween and spooky pop culture every day. I recently brought back Spook Worm Club, and it was a little spur of the moment because I was just vibing with wanting to do this, and I definitely realized everyone needs a lot more time to plan. So I figured I would reintroduce what Spook Worm Club is really quick, and then share my updates with you guys of what is going to be coming up for the rest of the year for Spook Worm Club, and then we'll get into all of the books and movies that I consumed over the last month. It was a very fun month, that's all I'm gonna say. Alright, so Spook Worm Club is a spooky book club for casual and serious readers. So whether you love to read audiobooks all the time, one audiobook, you love to read physical books, no matter how much you love to read, everyone is welcome here as long as you love reading spooky books. And the spook factor can vary from like some paranormal romance to like straight up horror that will give you nightmares. Whatever you prefer, there's always enough, there's usually enough like freedom for you to pick which direction you want to go in, still within our theme. However, I'm very excited to announce that I'm going to have some actual read-alongs at the end of this year. So first up for August, I am going to be doing an anything goes theme for August. Anything goes this August, only because I know it's already kind of late in the month, and I personally have a few books that I really want to read that don't really like fall into a specific theme. So I figured August would be a nice time for me to kind of like get caught up, get resituated, because you know, I did do a lot in July for this theme, and it was very like I had to stay focused on that theme. So for this month, I'm going to kind of close out all of my TBR of like things that I really want to read and just kind of like go with the flow so that I can be ready to hit the ground running for September and October, which will be our hexathon. I did do a hexathon last year, and I'm starting to feel like maybe it's just an annual theme we do because I just really love reading witchy books during actual Halloween season. There's something about it. Witchy romance is just like my favorite thing anyway, and September, October are so busy that I definitely think 2 months are needed to actually get through a TBR. So as we get closer, I will share my TBR for the hexathon, and the reason we're doing that again is because so many of my favorite series or book series, it's hard to say, are gonna get a new book this year. So I was like, oh my god, I need to reread them so that I can read the new one, because like of course I want to just like remember all the details. So we will be getting into that, and then I'm very excited to announce that for November and December we're gonna have an actual read along. I have not ever done an actual read along with a very specific book that we all read together, so open to suggestions on how we can actually like coordinate this, like if we want to read it ahead of time and then you guys send me in your reviews, or maybe we do a live stream for it. I'm open to whatever you guys think might be best. But so the theme or read along for November and December is going to be the Dream Harbor series by, I forgot to put her name, but I know that it's a play on the Gilmore Girls' name, Lori Gilmore. So sounds like Lorelai Gilmore, but it is not. I think it's just like a writer's name. I don't know what they're called. I didn't take the time to look it up. But these books are going to be a series. I read the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, I think. Yeah, the Pumpkin Spice Cafe last year. It was a super easy read. It definitely felt a lot like just a fanfic of Gilmore Girls, honestly. So I thought it would be really fun because I always feel like there's this really weird lull after Halloween where it's like, it should still be fall, but you're already in the Christmas mood, but also not really. So I figured this would be perfect to knock out November. We could knock out the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and then the new book in the series that's coming out on August 29th is called The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. So again, more cozy vibes. And then in December, they are releasing The Christmas Tree Farm in October. Sorry, they're not releasing it in December. They're releasing it October 10th, but I figured for December, we could do The Christmas Tree Farm. So that's already 3 books in the series. And then in April, they're releasing the 4th one called the Strawberry Patch Pancake. So depending on how November, December goes, maybe we'll revisit it in April to do the 4th book. But I thought November, December, it would be really nice for all of us to have like a very easy, cozy read to get through together. And since it tends to be the time that the community's like least engaged with like spooky stuff anyway, I thought it would be a really nice time for us to like try out an actual read along and see how it goes together. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. As we get closer, again, I will have more information on Hexathon, and I'll list the actual dates and what to expect for the read alongs in November and December. But as of now, you can actually already get access to the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and like I said, Cinnamon Bun Bookstore comes out August 29th. But I personally wouldn't dip into those yet, just because they're very fall vibes, and I still feel like we still need to get through spooky season, you know? So yeah, that's what we have coming up. And then before we get into my Fangs and Fur Fest recap, I did want to give a major thank you to our latest members, who have joined our subscriptions. In case you guys aren't aware or don't know how my subscriptions work, I do have a new video now that I will link here and in the actual description next to the membership, so you guys understand how they work. But all tiers as low as $2.99 get access to all bonus videos, and then tiers $4.99 and above get shout outs when they join, like the ones I'm about to give, and then all tiers $9.99 and above get access to the entire Ghoulmates vault. So all of the videos and podcast episodes we ever uploaded to YouTube are now available for our bonus members. So that's a nice little perk I'm really excited about. All right, so I did want to give a major thank you to our current subscribers that are part of the Ghouls and Kisses tier and above, which are Lindsay M, My Haunted Home, Daniela G, Jovan M, Claudia G, and Monica G. Thank you guys so much for supporting. It really means the world to me to have your support. As you all know, everything that you guys actually support us with actually goes right back into the channel between our production equipment, decor, all of the activities we do. So it really goes a long way. All right, so let's get into Fangs and Fur Fest. I'm super excited to fangirl with you guys. I didn't know if I should start with books or movies, but I guess because we're leaning more into books lately, I figured we would do the books and then I would end with the movies, which is honestly like a must watch. So I think if you're spooky and you love spooky content, you definitely want to hear about everything I consume, because I was so proud of myself. I think this was the most in-depth month I've ever had for Spook Worm Club, so I'm really proud of it. Okay, so first with books, everything got started by Bride by Ellie Hazelwood. As you all know, I really, really loved that book, and I'm actually considering doing an in-depth review of Bride as a bonus video. I'm currently considering doing some more specific content on the smutty books and movies I consume on my paid side, just so that it could be a little bit more organized and well kept, and I don't have to be as filtered, kind of like my health journey content. So if you're interested in that, I do have a poll for the community on the community tab for paying members specifically, if that's content that they would like. I feel like I have already talked a lot about Bride, so I'm not going to any further, but Bride was the reason I wanted to have this entire theme. So that was a 5 freaking bats read for me. It kind of reignited my passion for reading and just got me back into the spooky mood after the move, or towards the end of the movie, you know? So yeah, there's that. And then right after Bride, I read The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson. And this book is about two werewolves. Yes, two werewolves that agree to... Wow, I really didn't prepare. I should have like written summaries. It's two werewolves that need to have mates for different reasons. So they agree to be fake mates. And of course, as you know what the trope goes, they end up falling in love with each other. But this book, one of the things I really loved about it was that it was set in Colorado, and it was the first book I've read that is set that way. So that was very fun for me to just kind of like hear those small little details that you would just get if you live in Colorado, you know? And I originally started out not really vibing with the book, but before I knew it, I was like really into it and I couldn't put it down. So I really enjoyed it. However, I did not enjoy it as much as The Fake Mate. So for that reason, I gave it a, let me see, I can't remember what I gave it. So I gave it a 3 at the time that I finished it, and I don't know why, because now looking back, I kind of feel like it was a 4. Like, it kept me engaged enough that it should have been a 4, but I rated it a 3 on my Goodreads. Not sure why, again, but I really enjoyed it. I would probably revisit it at some point, maybe like after a year or two, kind of like I'm realizing some of the books I didn't necessarily love in the past, I'm excited to reread because there's another part of the series coming up for Hexathon. So I could see myself rereading it, and I did enjoy it. It was very smutty, and it was very modern, which I also appreciated. And there was one specific part in the book that I just loved so much that I had to tell Mr. Spooks and my best friend about it, because I was just like, okay, I need to talk to somebody about it. And it is part of a spoiler, so I don't want to share it. So that's why I'm saying, like, maybe I need to do more detailed reviews with spoilers and stuff on the bonus content. Okay, and then next we have Muscles and Monsters. This one, I don't know who wrote this one. Let me check really quick. Muscles and Monsters was by Ashley Bennett, and this one is about a plus-size ghoul girl who is living in a world, I guess, that is kind of like Halloween Town, where there's already like different monsters and species openly walking around. I don't know if it's different, if it's all monsters or just werewolves, but she bumps into a werewolf at the very beginning, and it's the first time she's ever like actually like talked or communicated or like had an actual interaction with, I guess. And it's like love at first sight, but not really. This book is very, very corny and smutty and like on the nose. So needless to say, she bumps into him at the very beginning of the book, and then from there they're just like instantly like all over each other. And I used to think that I had like no standards for smutty books. Honestly, like I used to think like, man, I would just read anything, huh? Like I just have like no, like I don't need anything out of a book, really. Like I'm just one of those girls that like I really just don't judge books harshly, right? When I read this book, I was like, okay, this book was proof that I have standards. And I don't mean that as like a really negative thing to say about the author at all. It just was not my cup of tea. Like I remember I even started it like at some point after Bride, thinking like, oh, this is gonna satisfy me like right after Bride, and I was immediately like, no, like this book is not the same quality or like substance as Bride was. So I had to DNF it at that time, and I didn't even know if I was gonna come back to it, honestly. And then I tried to read Camp Sylvania, but something kept happening to the audiobook that I rented that it just kept like losing its spot. So I immediately lost interest, and again did not get to read that this time around. So that was why I had moved on to The Fake Mate. So when I finished The Fake Mate, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll try Muscles and Monsters again. And it was just a really easy read, honestly. And like I said, it wasn't bad to the point where like I just did not want to read it, but it just wasn't good. Like it wasn't good storytelling or like a good story. It was just very at face value for what it was, like a cute little smutty book between a plus-size girl and a werewolf that were obviously like enjoying getting together. And something I did not like about this though was that this is the second plus-size inclusive book that I read, and again I still did not feel like the plus-size character was represented correctly. Like she's this plus-size girl who is like super confident about her body and like doesn't, and like there's a scene at the very beginning of the book, this isn't a spoiler, but he like asks her shirt size, and I think she like, I don't remember if she did say she was nervous about it or not, but she just like briefly brushed over it. And I was like, that would have been like a mortifying moment for a girl with a guy she's dating very early on if she's plus size. And then like she joins a membership to like get a his gym membership to get closer to him. And like she just goes like straight into working out with him. And I'm like, that would never happen. Like a plus size girl would never just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to work out with this hot werewolf. No, she'd be freaking out thinking like, oh my God, he's going to see how out of shape I am. Like it was just like so unrealistic. And then, sorry, this is like a tiny spoiler alert because I just don't know how to filter it now that I'm yapping away about how much I didn't like this book. But there's a point where like it turns out that the werewolf is the one who has body complex issues, and she's the one telling him like, oh, you got to be confident. And it just like, I understand men also have like body image problems, but it just felt very unrealistic. And again, we don't ever get a lot of plus size characters in any media, so I've been looking for plus size inclusive books that satisfy like my spooky side, but also actually make me feel seen and understood. And it just feels like it's always brushed over, and it's like so easy to say like all sizes are beautiful and like body positivity is important. Like that's not always the case for all women. And when you kind of like ignore that exists, it's kind of just like making the problem worse, in my opinion, because like not everyone feels confident about their body, and like that's just the reality of it. So sorry, that went a little off the rails, but I did end up finishing the book, which means it was entertaining enough, and it was funny. Like there were parts where like the flirting was so corny that I was like laughing at the fact that this author just like went for it. She was like, this was like the definition of campy smut, in my opinion. So I don't know, like it was enjoyable, but it was just like, okay, I'm not reading this to get like, oh my god, a really good story out of it, or like, oh, I'm so in love with these characters. It was just like a throw it on while I would do the dishes and like do stuff around the house and stay slightly entertained, you know? So for that reason, I did give this one a 2. It wasn't a 1 in my, I don't think I've read a 1. I think if it was a 1, I would have like legit DNF'd it. So yeah, if you guys want something fun, lighthearted, and something you don't have to think about while you're listening or reading it, then I would recommend this book. And then the last book I started but have not finished was When Life Gives You Vampires. And this one actually does have a plus size girl in it as well. And it does have trigger warnings because of, again, body image problems. But I did feel so far that it has been very accurate. I just haven't been able to really like put my heart into listening to the story. So for now, I'm DNFing it and potentially reading it again at some other point when I'm not like stressed or distracted, because I've noticed when I'm like really stressed in real life, I don't tend to enjoy books and I DNF them, and I kind of want to consider going back to Butcher and Blackbird, because I feel like that might be what have happened when I read it, because I hated it. But so many of you loved it, and it's making me wonder, like, was I just not in the right frame of mind when I read it, you know? So yeah, for now I'm DNFing When Life Gives You Vampires. This was recommended by one of the ghouls in our Discord server. So if you guys want Rex all the time and you want to chat spooky things, be sure to join our Discord server, because our ghouls are the best and always talking spooky things. So yeah, those are all of the books that I read through July. I'm very proud. I can't believe I read more than 2. Okay, and then for movies, I started off very strong. I feel like I leaned into werewolves on books and then vampires in movies, because it just, there's not a lot of werewolf movies, or like not a lot, as much variety. Anyway, so I started off with a classic favorite, which was The Lost Boys, the 80s movie with the teenage vampires. I feel like all of you must know what this movie is by this point. And I have a confession to make, but I am not a huge fan of this film. This is I feel like I had seen it in the past, but I just didn't remember it. And then as I was watching it, I remembered why I don't love it. Guys, I'm having a moment because I'm in my wig era right now, because I'm realizing it's so much easier to film if I just throw a wig on versus having to heat my hair and damage it every time. And because of the hood and the wig, I feel like my wig keeps slipping back, and I don't know if it's my wig or the hood. It's a learning process, but we're being real these days now. So like if you keep noticing my bangs get like short and then long, it's because I have to keep tugging them so they don't slip off. Can you imagine if it completely slips off? Oh my god. Anyway, so I realize why I don't love The Lost Boys, and I feel so sad that I can't participate in this fandom, honestly, but I just feel like the movie is really slow, and I guess I just don't like how mean the characters actually are. Like, it's so mean that sorry, this is a spoiler alert if you've never seen it, but like they literally take someone's life. And I know that like we love vampires for that reason, but in this case it just feels so mean, and it's not like in a sexy way either, or like out of love. And I just like have a hard time getting past that, you know? I don't know how to explain it, but as it is the movie slow, I will admit, like, the last scene where like the boss vampire comes out and stuff, the special effects were done really well, but I just don't love the movie. It doesn't excite me. It just doesn't do it for me, you know? So for that reason, I do give The Lost Boys 2 bats. I give it 1 bat for being so iconic and standing the test of time, and the other because the special effects were really good, but I just personally can't resonate with it as much. And I do feel like a lot of you who live in California appreciate this movie a lot more because you get to like see like where it was filmed and you have so many events to like revisit it. But for me, not being from California, I just can't find the passion for it as other people can. So yeah, and then next we have another 80s movie that completely swept me off my feet. It was a game changer, and I cannot tell you guys enough that if you have not seen it, it needs to be added to your list, which is Fright Night. So I mentioned I was shocked to realize that Fright Night is an actual vampire movie. I never knew. And I went in with low expectations thinking like, oh, it's gonna be slow like The Lost Boys. Guys, Fright Night is like the best movie I've seen in such a long time. Like, the best way I can describe it is as if it's a Disney Channel Halloween movie, but for adults, meaning like it's more scary. And I don't know, I can't shut up about it. I will probably watch it again during spooky season. So the movie is about a teenage guy who's like in his bedroom with his girlfriend, and the girl's like wanting to like kiss him and make out, but he keeps getting distracted because he thinks he sees something spooky out the window. So it turns out he's convinced that his new neighbor is a vampire, and lo and behold, spoiler alert, of course he is a vampire, but then the craziness unfolds between that, right? There was like, it was instant action and fun the beginning to end. And the reason I say that it feels like a Disney Channel movie is because it feels very nostalgic in the sense of those movies. Like, this movie captures that like Halloween nostalgic feeling we like from our movies. It feels very much like Don't Look Under the Bed and Under Wraps, like all those films, but a little scarier. So I really, really enjoyed it. I will probably watch it again. And it even made me want to watch the reboot just to kind of like compare them, which we'll get into next. There was one thing that I did not like about this film that I found very weird, which was like, again, this is a spoiler alert, so I'm sorry, but there's a part where the vampire basically like goes too far with the teenage girl. And I even Googled it to see like if anyone talked about this, and I'm like, no one's talking about how weird it was that this older vampire seduced a teenage girl. Like, she was clearly a teenage girl based on the storyline, and this wasn't like an 18-year-old vampire that turned when he was 18, so he's technically physically 18. No, like, he's an older vampire. Yes, he's attractive, but it was just a very weird thing for me to wrap my mind around. So I was very conflicted with it. But that aside, I still really, really enjoyed the film. I will watch it again, and it is a 5 freaking bats out of 5 freaking bats for me. I really loved it and was surprised. I also really, really loved the main character that played the vampire. Like, I was kind of disappointed at first because I was like, oh, it's not an actor I know, I don't really like him. But as the movie went on, like, he was cast so well. He's very attractive and like poised vampire-like, but not, and he's so wicked. And what they did with his hands and his nails throughout the movie was so unique and not something I've really like seen done very well before. So again, I just can't shut up enough about this film. So after that, of course, I wanted to watch the Fright Night remake, especially because it had Colin Farrell in it as the main vampire. So I was like, oh man, if it's Colin Farrell, like, I'm just gonna absolutely die because I think he'd make a great vampire. But the movie honestly just did not do it for me. Like, I think towards the end too, I was like, oh, okay, I enjoyed it, but it was nowhere near as good as the original. And I was actually really disappointed that I didn't like Colin Farrell as a vampire. Like, there was just something missing, and maybe it's just because I watched it too close to the first one, but it just didn't hit the same chords that the first one did. So I'm giving that one a 2.5. Honestly, it's been a few weeks since I saw it now, and I don't even really remember like what I did or didn't like about it. So I think for me that makes it very forgettable. And yeah, I do think the ending was really cool though. Kind of like with Lost Boys, these two movies both are like the endings really made up for any bad parts about the movie. Okay, and then the last movie I have, and then we're gonna talk about True Blood. The last movie I have is Red Riding Hood, and this was a selfish pick because, first of all, I have never seen the Red Riding film with Amanda Seyfried, and I found out that it was, unfortunately, halfway through the film, I found out it was directed by Catherine Hardwicke. And if you guys have been here a while, you know that I never talk poorly of anyone, but Catherine Hardwicke is probably one of the few people in Hollywood that I openly dislike because I think she ruined Twilight. And I do think she did Red Riding Hood better than she did Twilight, but I still just don't resonate with her style as a director. So the reason I saw this film was A, because I had never seen it and wanted to, and B, I thought of this cute little look for this video like halfway through the month, and I was like, wait, why did I include anything about Red Riding Hood in this? Like, I'm sure there is a smutty Red Riding Hood book out there, but it was just like too late into the game for me to like find a book that I vibed with and actually read it. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch the movie because I never saw it and I wanted to. So the movie is literally what you would expect. Like, it's enjoyable. Honestly, I think I'm being too hard on Catherine Hardwicke for this one because I do think it's better than Twilight for sure. I really loved the actors in this film, especially the guy that is made out to seem like he's the werewolf. There goes my wig again. There we go. I don't know. I just really loved the characters, like the actors in this already naturally. But as I was watching it, I was like, this really just feels like a storybook being retold in a movie. And it didn't go like far enough into like horror or spookiness to make it like interesting, if that makes sense. And I was kind of surprised at the end by who the actual wolf was. I wasn't expecting it to be who I thought it was. Like, I had suspected it, but I was like really convinced it was someone else. So I did give this film, was it 2? I gave this film 2 freaking bats, but I would be open to rewatching it again. Also, like I said, when I'm less distracted, because I did break this film up into like 2 viewing sessions. So yeah, that was all of my movie watching. And then I have an update for you girls with True Blood. True Blood has been one of the most interesting journeys for me because it's something I know that the entire community lives for, which made me think I'm gonna instantly love it. But then it's been a rough start. So I saw the first season. I was very open with this on my Discord server about how I just like couldn't get into it. I just can't connect with the characters for some reason, honestly. So I got through a few episodes in season 2 and I thought that I was like really vibing with it. And then like 2 weeks passed and I realized I hadn't even touched the series anymore. So as of now, I'm so sorry to disappoint you ghouls, but I am going to DNF True Blood for now. I might revisit it at some point, but I just couldn't get into it. Like, even when the episodes were getting like crazy and there were cliffhangers, I never remembered like, oh my god, I need to watch what's coming up next on True Blood. I just never connected with it. I will say though, a shout out to Sally because I feel like she's doing her hardest to try to get me to give True Blood a chance. Like, every chance she gets, I've noticed in Discord, she's like, it's giving Sookie Stackhouse vibes and stuff. I see you, Ghoul. I see what you're trying to do. I might try the books at some point, probably next year, because I tend to get into a vampire mood every summer for some reason, or around Valentine's. I will probably try the Sookie Stackhouse books again at some point. And then if I do vibe with them and finish them, maybe I'll start True Blood again. But as of right now, True Blood is unfortunately DNF'd for me. All right, ghouls, that is all I have for you for our Fangs and Fur marathon, or Fangs and Fur Fest. I can't remember the name. It was a weird name. But I had a lot of fun, honestly. It was very nice for me to just like really dig deep into the vibe I was feeling. I hope that you all got to read or watch something within the theme. If you did, please leave a note in the comments below about what you did read or watch, and how you enjoyed it and how you rate it. And if you have any recs for Hexathon, drop them now, because my Hexathon list is already getting pretty hefty. So I'll be building that out soon. And yeah, I can't wait to continue the Spook Worm Club journey with you girls. It's been a bumpy road, but I'm really excited to be back on track. super excited for Hexathon and for our first read along. I feel like it's gonna be good vibes. So yeah, be sure to join our Discord server so you don't miss any of the updates or what other ghouls are reading. And until next time, sending you ghouls and kisses. Bye.